The perils of following the crowd. Why independent thinking often outweighs conformity. In a world driven by trends, social media, and groupthink, it can often seem easier and smarter to follow the crowd than to forge one's own path. The safety of conformity offers comfort and a sense of belonging, but as the saying goes, the crowd is not usually smart. The pressure to follow popular opinion or mimic the actions of the majority can lead to poor decision-making, especially when the crowd is motivated by emotion, misinformation, or the desire to avoid standing out. Throughout history, there are countless examples where following the crowd led to disastrous consequences. While independent thinking often requires courage, foresight, and the willingness to stand alone, it is also the path that has led to breakthroughs, innovation, and social progress. Understanding the pitfalls of conformity, while embracing the power of individual reasoning, is crucial to making smarter, more informed decisions. The tendency to follow the crowd is not just a social phenomenon, it is also rooted in psychology. Groupthink is a term coined by social psychologist Irving Janis in 1972 to describe the way groups can make flawed decisions when the desire for harmony or conformity overrides the ability to critically evaluate alternative ideas. In groupthink, individuals suppress dissent, ignore risks, and ultimately make decisions that may be irrational or unethical because they prioritize group consensus over critical analysis. A famous psychological study that illustrates the power of conformity is Solomon Asch's conformity experiment in the 1950s. Asch found that when participants were placed in a group where everyone gave an obviously incorrect answer to a simple visual question, a significant number of participants conformed to the group's wrong answer, even though the correct answer was clear to them. This experiment revealed how powerful the pressure to conform can be, even when the individual knows that the group is wrong. In the real world, groupthink can have serious consequences. The 2008 global financial crisis is a prime example. Prior to the collapse, many individuals and institutions believed that the booming housing market and risky financial products were safe investments because everyone was doing it. Very few questioned the unsustainable nature of the practices, and those who did were largely ignored or ridiculed. The result was a financial catastrophe that cost trillions of dollars in lost wealth, jobs, and homes. History offers many lessons about the dangers of blindly following the crowd. Perhaps one of the most tragic examples is the Salem witch trials in 1692, when fear and hysteria swept through the small Puritan community of Salem, Massachusetts. As accusations of witchcraft spread, community members conformed to the growing panic. Rational thinking was abandoned, and 20 innocent people were executed. The Salem witch trials serve as a reminder that the crowd, driven by fear or emotion, can lead to disastrous and unjust outcomes. Similarly, the rise of fascism in Europe during the 1930s and 1940s demonstrated how dangerous it can be to follow the crowd without questioning its motivations. Adolf Hitler's rise to power in Nazi Germany was fueled by a combination of economic despair, nationalistic fervor, and a strong desire among the German people for a sense of belonging and purpose after the devastation of World War I. Many Germans were swept up in the promises of renewal and prosperity, and they willingly conformed to the dangerous ideologies that ultimately led to the Holocaust and the deaths of millions. This dark chapter in history underscores the consequences of collective conformity in the face of unethical or immoral leadership. These historical examples emphasize the need for critical thinking and moral courage. The crowd is not always right, and the willingness to challenge popular opinion can be the difference between justice and injustice, or success and failure. While following the crowd may seem like the safer choice in many situations, it is often the independent thinkers who change the world. Throughout history, those who dared to challenge conventional wisdom have been the ones to drive progress and innovation. One such example is Galileo Galilei, the 17th-century Italian astronomer and physicist. At a time when the Catholic Church and most of society believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, Galileo supported the heliocentric model proposed by Copernicus, which posited that the Earth and other planets revolved around the Sun. For his defiance of widely accepted beliefs, Galileo was placed under house arrest by the Inquisition. However, his willingness to challenge the crowd's beliefs laid the foundation for modern astronomy and fundamentally changed our understanding of the universe. Another example of independent thinking comes from the field of science. In the 20th century, Albert Einstein revolutionized our understanding of physics with his theory of relativity. At the time, Newtonian mechanics had dominated scientific thought for centuries, and Einstein's ideas were initially met with skepticism. However, Einstein's refusal to follow the established thinking of the scientific community ultimately led to some of the most important breakthroughs in modern physics. The stories of Galileo and Einstein show that innovation often comes from those who are willing to question the status quo and think for themselves. These individuals understood that following the crowd might bring temporary security or acceptance, but true progress requires stepping away from the crowd and exploring new ideas, even in the face of opposition. Choosing not to follow the crowd requires courage, as it often involves going against the grain and facing criticism or ridicule. Philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson captured this sentiment when he wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." Emerson believed that individuality was the key to self-reliance and personal fulfillment, and that following the crowd was a form of self-betrayal. Modern society places immense value on social acceptance, often making it difficult to resist conforming. Social media, in particular, amplifies the pressure to align with popular opinions, trends, or behaviors. However, studies have shown that the pursuit of social validation through conformity can actually lead to lower self-esteem and decreased mental well-being. A 2014 study published in the Journal of Social Psychology found that individuals who constantly sought approval from others were more likely to experience anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. On the other hand, those who practiced self-determination and independent thinking reported higher levels of life satisfaction. Ultimately, standing alone and thinking for oneself can be more rewarding than following the crowd, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. While the crowd may provide temporary security, independent thinkers often find greater fulfillment and a deeper sense of purpose by pursuing what they believe is right, rather than what is popular. While there is comfort in conformity, history and psychology teach us that the crowd is not always wise. The impulse to follow popular opinion can lead to poor decisions, missed opportunities, and even catastrophic outcomes. Whether in moments of personal decision-making or in larger societal movements, blindly following the crowd often results in negative consequences. Independent thinking, though challenging and sometimes lonely, is essential for personal growth, innovation, and progress. From the courage of historical figures like Galileo to the dangers of groupthink in modern times, it is clear that those who resist the urge to conform often make the greatest contributions to society. As individuals, we should strive to cultivate critical thinking and the courage to stand apart from the crowd when necessary. In doing so, we not only protect ourselves from the pitfalls of conformity, but also contribute to a more thoughtful and informed world. After all, life is not about simply being accepted by the crowd, it's about thinking for ourselves and doing what is right, even when it's difficult.